All right. I think I'm back, but I have no clue what the heck happened. Uh, if I end up just glitching out again, then I guess I'm gonna have to figure out my own. I'm just using like YouTube's streaming service, so maybe that's why it sucks. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna try this again. Yeah, it really looks like I'm like insane. I'm not. Let's see. How do I share this? How do I share this stream? I'll do this. And then I'll do this. And I'll do that. Whoops. No, I need to look. There we go. I'm trying to like there. I don't want to add effects. I think I'm just streaming here by myself. Ba, ba, ba. I'm gonna try this again. Sorry to anyone who might be watching. Looks like I got 3 people on. I'm still just trying to figure this out, to be honest. I like do not know what I'm doing. I'm gonna adjust my camera angle a little bit. Come on now. There we go. This is kind of what I had going on before. I think I may have figured out like what was going wrong. I was using this battery pack for my Pocket 3, and I'm wondering if maybe this was screwing things up because I had like it plugged into the back there. It shouldn't. I feel like it should be totally fine using that, but anyways, I'm gonna post on Instagram that I'm live, and hopefully by the time people get here, I'll still be live. uh, yeah, there we go. Hey, thanks, Jilsu. Appreciate the encouragement. I literally don't know what I'm doing. I've been on YouTube for 15 years, and this is the first time I'm like actually live streaming. So just bear with me here. All right. Can you hear me okay? Am I sounding all right? Um, I'm gonna get back to kind of what I was talking about before my live stream just got destroyed by I don't know what. But yeah, just to make this halfway interesting, um, before I got cut off, we were talking about the GH7 and the S12 and what exactly the benefits of a GH7 would be. Um, okay, perfect. Thank you, Frisk Film by Lassie Frisk. I appreciate that. I'm glad that everything is looking and sounding good. Hopefully, this doesn't get cut off again. If you're just getting here, I tried this like 15 minutes ago and I just went completely blank. And then I looked and it was just like this this constant loop of me just saying nothing. So hopefully this works. I don't know what the heck I'm doing, but yeah, the someone had posed a question of like where does the GH7 stand as far as like cameras right now just because of the S12, and honestly it's kind of hard to figure out why you would buy a GH7 in 2025 now just with the S1 Mark II, especially because I mean the GH7 is going to be a little bit cheaper if I'm remembering correctly. I'm pretty sure it's like around the $2,000 range, and I know that in the used market it's like 1900 bucks. So the GH7 is still cheaper if you want all of those S1 2 type features in a Micro Four Thirds body. But um, yeah, it is a definitely harder sell for Micro Four Thirds in 2025. And it's funny because I just did a video like on my main channel about that exact subject, and then me and Rhett Thompson were talking about that in a podcast last week. So yeah, it's definitely changed things up. Hey, right on. DH Shields recently purchased a GH5S. So it's good in low light. Yeah, the GH5S is sick. I have the BGH1, and that has the same sensor as the GH5S, which is a great sensor. I feel like me and Rhett, I think, talked about that a little bit, but it's like if they could make another camera with that GH5S sensor that has phase detect autofocus, that would be pretty sweet. Um, Rhett Thompson, are you saying that Micro Four Thirds is dead? No, I don't think so. I think there's a lot of people that are going to be using Micro Four Thirds for a really long time, but uh, it's definitely a more niche camera for sure. Um, but yeah, I still like Micro Four Thirds and Commodore Productions. Oof, Commodore Productions is one of my favorite YouTube channels. They're asking your thoughts on the new Panasonic 24 to 60 f2.8 lens. I'm glad you asked that because that's something that I wish people would have talked about a little bit more than the S12. Not that the S12 isn't cool, but that 24 to 60 is pretty much the perfect lens. And like, so here's my S5 II and I have like three different lenses. I've got like the 24 prime. I have a 100 prime that isn't actually mine. Then I got the 50 prime. These two, like the 24 and the 50, I feel like I could sell those and buy the 24 to 60, and I can live with 2.8. Like I don't really care about f1.8. These are really nice primes. Like I was telling my friend Azrael that I I picked this up recently for like $200 or something like that. It's a really cheap lens, but it's insanely good. But with that being said, I could have everything I need in that 24 to 60 on my S5 2X, and it's really not that bad a price. Like 899 here in the US. That's like a great price for a great lens. I always look to, Danny Gevirtz as like my North Star. Like you look at all the stuff that he's done with his FX3 and that 24 to 70, like the entire um the entire time that he was in Hawaii, like making like that Brooks running film and the like that baseball film, that was all just with a 24 to 70 f2.8, like nothing crazy. I think he may have used like an 18 millimeter, like for like one shot, but you can do a lot with a 24 to 70, and the 24 to 60 is like a perfect combo. Yeah, and like Rhett Thompson just brought up exactly what I was going to say. With the hybrid zoom, you can push it a little bit more and get a little bit more out of the 24 to 62. So it's essentially like, yeah, you're losing that 10 millimeters on like the long end, but if you really needed the extra reach, you can just flip it into hybrid zoom and you're going to be totally fine. So yeah, the 24 to 60 is something that like my buddy Dustin, he did a whole video about the 24 to 60 versus the 24 to 70 and just like the size difference. And that's like the one thing for me is that like an easier way to switch to the full frame lineup is to have smaller lenses. So if you're coming from Micro Four Thirds and you're like, man, I'm going to have these huge bazooka of lenses, like you can kind of see, I have like some lenses back there. The 70 to 200 is still a lens that like, if you're coming from Micro Four Thirds and you're used to that 35 to 100, you're not going to get anything close to that kind of range in a small form factor. Um, but the 24 to 60 being nice and small, it kind of can replace like my GH5 and 12 to 35 setup that I had for the longest time. So I think that's cool. I wish that Lumix would make more of those small lenses. All right, Antonio Ochoa. Hi, Nigel from Peru. Hey, how's it going, my friend? Thoughts on the BMPCC 4K? That's pretty easy. It's a really good camera still. think it's $1,000 brand new, and you get DaVinci Resolve. So if you think about it, like if you don't have an editing software, or maybe you're coming from like iMovie, or you're just sick of Premiere's subscription model, then you could look at the BMPCC 4K as like a $700 camera basically, because you're getting DaVinci Resolve Studio for free, which is like a $300 program. So it's a really good deal, and you still get really good dynamic range with the Pocket 4K, and you get Blackmagic Raw. It's just a really solid camera still. I don't know if it's just my lighting. I think it is just my lighting, but I look like I'm sweating. I promise I'm not. This is quality TV right here. Uh, DH Shield says the GH5 will never be replaced. Yeah, I wish that were true for me. Honestly, like I've been shooting more with the S5 2X, and I have to say, like having autofocus is just nice. Honestly, the when you're making stuff for YouTube, I think that autofocus is a really nice thing to have. I love my GH5, but man, I've missed so many shots and had to like reshoot a bunch of times just because the autofocus missed. And then, I can do my little autofocus trick with the shutter remote, but it's just not quite perfect. You can still lose focus sometimes. And especially when you're far away, you're never really 100% like sure that like autofocus box was around your face when you're pressing like the half press on like that shutter release. So there is benefits to having phase detect autofocus. You don't need it, but it is nice, especially if YouTube is your full-time thing. What's a good budget tripod for filmmaking that's easy and portable? Man, I wish I had. Hold, please. So, this tripod is by Small Rig. Um, I'm pretty sure I two-piece meal this tripod, but these are carbon fiber legs with no middle section. So there's no middle section on this tripod, which I actually like because it's a lot more sturdy. And then this tripod head is the CH20, I believe. And I really like this tripod combo. I have a Arca Swiss adapter plate on here, which just makes it easier to slide. Oops, to slide my S5 2X just like straight on like that. So this is the one that I use for like my run and gun stuff when I'm out and about filming. Um, and then I have some larger tripods. Right over there is the AD50, I believe. That one's really good too. Let me see if I can. For some reason, this framing looks a little bit off. There we go. All right, where are we in the chat? I wish I knew how to like put chats up on screen, but I don't. So sorry, I'm a noob at this. Let's see. Rhett Thompson, autofocus has made me incredibly lazy, but also really shows why there are so many YouTubers using Sony because it's just so convenient when filming yourself. Exactly. Uh, when autofocus was like a huge thing that Lumix didn't have, and everyone was like saying like real filmmakers don't need autofocus. I'm always with the mindset of like I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. Like any of the Sony shooters that had autofocus, you can turn it off, right? Like they don't always have to use autofocus, but it's nice to have when you need it. So I didn't really like that argument of like real filmmakers don't use autofocus. Like, okay, sure, but I'd rather have a camera that I can just turn autofocus off if I don't want to use it than one where I can't turn it on that is reliable if I did want to use it. You know what I mean? So yeah. Hey. Nathan Swell is in the chat. My favorite thing I hope Lumix sticks to is the same body and different sensors and specs. Uh, Wait, or did I read that? My favorite thing I hope Lumix sticks to it the same body and different specs. Do you think Panasonic would go APS-C? Yeah, that's something that I was actually thinking, Nate, just because I watched Zach Mayfield's latest video on the EVA 1, and that was an APS-C sensor. Like, the EVA 1 was APS-C. So, they have done it in, like, that line of cameras, but, yeah, you've never seen it in, like, a hybrid body, which is kinda weird. I kinda wish they would because there are and even if they made, like, an APS-C L-mount camera, there's APS-C L-mount lenses. Like the Sigma lenses will come in an L-mount, those 18 to 50 and the 11 to 18. Those come in L-mount, and you could stick them on an S5 2X and just put it into APS-C mode. Um, so maybe that's their thinking that like if like why make an APS-C camera if our full frame cameras switch to APS-C mode anyways? Um, and that was always something that I was thinking about where it's like I could if I really wanted faster readouts on this, I could just buy some APS-C lenses and just switch it into APS-C mode because then you get much faster readouts. Um, but yeah, it's a thought. I mean, I think it'd be cool if they made APS-C and you could use smaller lenses. Although me and Rhett were talking about how there are like some small lenses coming out for the full frame system. So the benefits from l- for full frame are, you get better low light, and that shallow depth of field is always nice. Um, let's see what else we got here. What about the new S12? Doesn't speak to you. Uh, it's not that I don't like the new S12. I think that the new S12 is sick. Uh, the only thing that I think is that it's just a little bit too expensive, and I know that's where the S12E comes in. But the S12E just seems eerily similar to the S52X. I'm not 100% sure on every single difference. I know that there are some like really meaningful upgrades if you went to the S2E, but honestly, this is stupid, I know, but why can't they just make it look like this? Like this is the sexiest looking camera that Lumix has ever made. Like, you notice how there's no red here? And the only red that you're gonna see is up here. There's no red right here. Like, I wish they would have made the S2E and like an S2B for like black, like a blackout version. But honestly, like the Lumix X2, it looks like an amazing camera, and it does look like a perfect solution for anyone who wanted to be switching to Lumix, but they didn't want all of the like downsides of the Lumix like S1R2 with like the slower readout speeds and stuff like that. And it looks like thermals are a little bit better on the S12 as well. So that could be another like thing for people who, had some hesitation if you had like an FX3 or something like that, you didn't want your camera, melting if you went with the S1R2. Now with the S12, you don't have to worry about it so much. All right. So I'm going to try to get through all these questions. Also, I can't believe I didn't ask you, but if you get the S9, what color are you going to get? Oh, come on, Rhett. You know me better than that. You know I'm going to get the black. You know I'm going to get the black one. Of course I'm going to get the black S9. If I get that camera, that's definitely the color I'm getting. Uh, I think there's no way Panasonic would release an APS-C interchangeable lens camera. Yeah, it's probably unlikely. Um, Anyone ever use the Panasonic Image app? It's a game changer for filming yourself. Yes, I have used that when filming with my GH5, but to be honest, it's kind of annoying to use. And I don't like getting text messages and then it messing up my signal and all that kind of stuff. It's nice when you're just in like an office like this, but if you're out and about, it is a little bit annoying. What's your number one? Hey, Sun Valley Drive Music, right on. What is your number one recommendation for easy to learn slash use camera and lens for indoor talking head shots and still get that good tone? Um, Honestly, like you could go with an S5 II, not the X, and get like if you want like talking head, this lens is really good for talking head stuff. The 24 mil f1.8. This is really good. There's an entire line of these little primes. I have the 24, the 50, and the 100. But yeah, if I would almost go for like the 35 mil f1.8 too. That one is a really good option, especially for talking head stuff. If you're talking Lumix, which That's kind of the it's kind of the vibe on my channel is Lumix cameras. So yeah, that's the one that I would recommend if you wanted to keep like a pretty good budget. The S1 Mark, or sorry, the S5 Mark II is pretty cheap in the used market. Let's see. Next question. I downloaded a few samples from the S1 II, and to be honest, I'm disappointed with the image quality. It's still worse than my 6-year-old S1H. So much noise and reduction and sharpening. Huh, that's interesting. How's the BGH1 doing? It's still doing good. I can't promise you I'm going to keep it forever just because there's so many different cameras and I'm kind of a minimalist. So I'm trying to like pare down. But I do love that camera. The image that it created was pretty sweet. Uh, Rhett, here's what you actually do: make the next GH model an APS-C camera that automatically crops if you have micro four thirds lenses on it, and have a swappable mount so you can put L mount lenses on it too. That's an idea. I doubt Panasonic will ever do that, but that's an idea. No, if they go APS-C, they will have to divert more people out of micro four thirds. Yeah, Samo, yes, that's probably true. Nate, sorry I worded that weird. I was just commenting on how the S1R2, S12, and S12E all share the same body. I have too many camera bodies and feel stupid trying to remember how to operate a camera. Yeah, I agree. I think that sticking with one body design makes a lot of sense. And it's cool that all those cameras have the exact same body. It makes it easier for like, you know, if you have both of those cameras, you can buy one cage and it'll work on both. So that's pretty cool. They got to sell a lot more to develop an APS-C team. Yeah, I agree. Rhett Thompson, does the G100D have decent viewfinder? Rhett's going to have to answer that question for you. Uh, let's see. No, it is big and heavy lens, but thanks to your video about the 35 to 150, just got it today. Heavy but great. All arounder. Yeah, the 35 to 150 by Samyang is pretty sweet. It is very heavy, but I feel like I'm kind of in the minority when it comes to camera and lens combos. I just like my stuff to be as small as possible. I'm not really showing up on set that often and trying to impress clients. So having a huge, big, impressive setup isn't the number one priority for me. Um, but if you have no, I mean, if you're stronger than I am, which isn't hard to do, and you have no qualms about, carrying around a lot of gear, then yeah, the 35 to 150 is sick, and go full frame. Don't take any of my advice just because I say it. I have kind of, niche wants, I suppose, and I'm definitely in the minority. So yeah, the Commodore Productions, Black S9 all the way. Absolutely. I'm I was talking to Matthew Dangy this morning, but he was asking me, I think, a similar question, like what color S9 I would get. And it was like black is just for me, it's kind of like it's what looks professional in my mind. And that's not the correct way to think, but that's just what I think. I like that the S9 comes in a bunch of different colors, and I think that the green one was really cool. Matthew has that one, but like way back in the day, and this is going to date me a lot because I started, making videos back in, the early 2000s, but there used to be a camera by Canon that came out that was one of the first mini DV cameras that shot in true 24p. It was called the Canon HV20, and that one was silver. And it kind of like blew up on Vimeo. Everybody was using the HV20 because it, gave really good HD 24p at that time, anyways. But then the HV30 came out, and everyone, even on CNET, they're saying like, "Oh, this is the professional version" because it was blacked out. And maybe that's the camera that flipped a switch in my mind. It's like, okay, black is like the cool thing to have. Like, I want all my camera gear to be black, and that's why I like the S5 2X so much. So maybe that's where everything originated. Back when the HV30 came out. When the HV30 came out, I bought that camera and I shot with it a bunch. The Commodore Productions. What other L mount lenses were you hoping to come out other than the new Panasonic 24-60? Well, honestly, I look at the the rumor sites every once in a while, and I saw rumors of like a 20-60 or like a 20-40 f2, which that would be sick. Having like a faster constant aperture zoom. Um, it kind of is a bummer that that didn't happen, but honestly, the 24-60 still looks sick, and it looks like for me, like with like the GH5, I had the 12-35 stuck on that camera like 90% of the time. And I've always been looking for a similar lens to put on my S5 2X and just keep it on like 90% of the time. And that 24-60 looks like it's going to be that lens for me. So, uh, yeah, I don't really have any other like wants as far as lenses. I feel like the only other wants are ones that I talked to Rhett about in my latest podcast about like I just want small pancake primes for cameras like the S9. That would be really sick. Whoa, what's going on? All right. Oh, hey, Cesar Lorca. Dude, what's your current go-to lens for the S5 2X? Well, I have a few. I just picked up a couple of primes. I've been talking about them, the 24 f1.8, and then I have the 50 f1.8 and the 100 2.8 macro. This one is a loaner from Lumix. I honestly, product B-roll. And then I have the 24 to 105. Use that a lot for paid work. So if I'm doing like event work, I'm using the 24 to 5 f4. And I also have the 70 to 200, which I've probably used like 3 times. That's another loaner. The 24 to 105 is also a loaner from Lumix, but I love both of those lenses. But honestly, the 24 to 105 is the one that's gotten the most use. Uh, I haven't talked about this yet, but I actually sold my Sigma 28 to 70, not because I didn't like it. I was just kind of getting bored of that lens and I wanted to try something new. And I'm glad that I did because I think that the 24 to 60 is going to be replacing that. In fact, it's probably going to be replacing most of the lenses that I have because I feel like I could keep that 24 to 60 on a S5 2X and just call it a day and like never really have to take it off unless I wanted to shoot with my vintage primes or something like that. Okay, Cesar, I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. I like I'm half Brazilian, so you'd think that I could like say names that like have are a little bit different, that I could say them right. I can't. I have like literally no clue how to say last names properly, and I've proven that time and time and again. Sorry if I'm saying it, I'm saying it wrong. Uh Rhett Thompson, the G100D. I don't know if I think it's any better than the OG G100. Yeah, I have no clue about those G100 cameras. Let's see. Hey, first time tuning in on a live uh, from Space City, aka Houston, Texas. Right on. That's cool. Yeah. Uh, SSR 24 to 60, sweet dude. Yeah, I think you got it right. You got to try that out. I think you have an S12 video. I saw it. I haven't watched every single S12 video that's been coming out in these past couple of days. I think I watched Ed's video and I watched Dustin's well, I watched Dustin's 24 to 60 video because honestly that's what was most compelling to me yesterday. Not that the S12 isn't cool. I thought that the the 24 to 60 was like that's what interests me most, I guess. Let's see. Rhett Thompson, I can never leave micro four thirds because my sweet 10 to 25. Yeah, and I think that's why I was thinking that. Like the 10 to 25 is essentially a 20 to 50, and it's a F2 constant. Or no, sorry, it's an F 1.7 constant, which is essentially like an F 3.4 in like full frame terms when you're talking about like, bokeh. Um, But yeah, I wish there was like like a full frame equivalent to that. So you would need like a 20 to 50 and maybe give it to us in like an F2 or something like that. That would be sick. All right, Isaac is asking, what are your thoughts on no S1H Mark II? Um, honestly, like a lot of the Lumix friends that I have, they kind of, I mean, they didn't tell me anything that they weren't supposed to, but I kind of got the vibe that the S1H Mark II wasn't going to be the camera that was going to be announced yesterday. Um, and again, they didn't tell me anything. I kind of had a feeling that that wasn't what was going to happen. And then when the rumor sites started like, leaking photos, which I try not to go on, like I try not to go on to L rumors. I'm on Micro Four Thirds rumors every single day, but I try not to go to L rumors as much. But I did once and I saw that like the S1, 2, and the 24 to 60 was leaked. So I kind of knew like a day before, but I don't know. I think that Lumix can still release the S1H2 like and have it still be really cool, but um it is kind of getting like there's like a getting jumbled with so many different product lines now. We got the S5 2 and we got the S1 2 and we got the S1R2 and now the S1H2. It's just like what are they going to do to make it different or video specific, that they haven't done to the S1 2. So uh Nate's asking, what mic arm am I using for my Shure? This is like I don't know. It cost me like $40 on Amazon. I honestly don't know which one it is. It's like a U green or something. It's really nice. I talk about this on my Instagram, but this is a quick release mic attachment. So I can put this onto like a mic stand and use it as like a mic for my videos. Let me see. But yeah, I think this is really helpful when I'm trying to like move mics around my office. All right, next question. I get the impression a lot of people are going to be putting up their S5 II and S5 2X's cameras for sale. Yeah, I guess if you're one of those people that like, I think the biggest complaint that people have with this camera is that it crops in 4K, which the S1 II fixes, I believe, and it doesn't have internal 32-bit float with that XLR adapter, and the readout speeds are pretty slow. I think it's like 22 milliseconds in full frame, and I think it's even slower in open gate mode. So yeah, I think that's like those are the two reasons that like if those bother you a lot with this camera, then the S1 II is a pretty good upgrade. Again, I just wish they would have made the S1 II in a blacked out version like this. I would pay $200 more for a blacked out version. Uh, I know it's a stupid thing to complain about, but I'm in the minority, I guess. Let's see. Brett Thompson, the GH7 absolutely